And again, it's Dr. Geoffrey. And the world has changed since the last time we talked. And I know, many of you all have talked about how often I say that. But today, as promised, we have a special guest. I'll get to him shortly. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I am Dr. Geoffrey Mount Varner. I am a crisis and split-second decisions expert. I go around the world teaching executives, leaders, how to manage crisis and how to make split-second decisions. That's what I do. And after all, two things we know. We know that we are in a crisis right now as a result of COVID. And for those who are involved in organizations, we know that crisis is coming. Crisis is coming. I say that to say, as a result of the COVID crisis, I find myself living into a bunch of, a few Fortune 500 companies and local organizations, and the crisis management component of the company has just blown up. So if there's anyone who's interested, please reach out. But today, this is about the people. This is about making sure that we survive the COVID crisis. And who else better to do it than a crisis expert? And I've got a special guest to help us out. But first, I have a question for you. What do you all think the second pandemic was or is? What do you think the second pandemic is? I know there's talk about we're in the middle of a second and third, but what do you think the second pandemic is? We're about to get started, but I just want to tell you, as we start this program, the program is about mental health. And I just want to remind you that in the end, we always wind up on top. I know you're like, wait a minute, how do you know me? Because the fact that you're here listening, I know that you've been through something because you are a human. And the fact you're here, you'll always wind up on top. The reason why I say that is because it's better to approach this topic with the right mindset. And this mindset is, hey, I know I'm gonna wind up on top, but as I go through this journey, how can I feel my best? Let's get started. Today is my special guest. I've done many shows with him. I've got Dr. Johnathan, Shepard, psychiatrist in the house. Hello, Dr. Shepard. How are you?
Hey, I'm all right, my friend. I am pretty good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm well. Hey, I thank you for coming on such short notice. You and I have had many communication. We've done different shows, but I can tell you last week was the first week that I can tell you I got at least 20 to 25 requests to do a segment on mental health. Do you find that odd at all?
No, I don't find it odd. I just received 2 phone calls in 3 days from people outside of the state of Maryland asking for my assistance regarding 2 situations where people look like they might be in the middle of a psychotic episode, and 2 young people, unfortunately. And what I'm seeing is that the stress of what we are enduring during this season of the pandemic, or seasons of the pandemic, is really affecting us mentally and emotionally. So am I surprised? No. Is it going to go away? No. So yes, to answer your question, no, I'm not surprised.
Thank you for that. And my audience, they came to listen to you talk versus me and had me ask you a few questions. But let me set it up for you this way. In an article out of the Academic Emergency Medicine Journal, which just came out yesterday, just so that in case anybody's feeling bad, just so you know, it's not you. It talks about how frontline responders in China, 50% of them have developed different mental health issues. The most common one being 50% of them have developed depression, 45% anxiety, 34% insomnia. Not done. And then as it relates to mental health, what they're finding out is that people with COVID, depending on how bad you have it, about 42% of them, once they experience COVID and live through it, and these are even for those who are stable, about 42% of them develop anxiety, 28% develop post-traumatic stress, 31% develop depression, and 40% develop in insomnia. Just so we're clear, the first study I talked about, those were just frontline workers. They did not have COVID. The second study that I talked about, they experienced COVID. What is my point? My point is that there's a middle gap here. What about those people who have not experienced COVID, but who are living in this crisis? Mm-hmm. What advice do you think that you can give them?
Yeah, so, let me just attack first with the articles that you just pointed out. So what they have talked about are the symptoms, most likely. I haven't read those articles, but they're talking about the distress. So everyone encounters distress. You will never live a stress-free life. That's how we were not designed. Our body, as you know, Dr. Varner, has stress hormones inside of them so that we can handle the stress. So all of us will experience distress. The issue, though, is that if you stay distressed too long, you will become and move along and continue and become disordered. And disordered is where you're unable to function. So I would be curious to know, for those people who they were looking at, whether or not are they in the state of disorder, or are they in a state of distress, or are they somewhere in between? Because insomnia is not a mental health disorder. All right. Okay. It is a symptom of a mental health disorder, but it's a symptom of many things. Insomnia is one of the most common complaints that you will see in a doctor's office, but it can mean something metabolic, which means it could be going in organic inside of you. It could be something that's not even emotional or mentally related. So insomnia is something that we see so often. But I will say this, though, without digressing too much, is that insomnia has been one of the major issues that people are having during this pandemic. Their sleep patterns are off. So many people are unable to get a good night's rest because they're anxious. They don't know what's going to happen. They've been watching too much of the news. They've been seeing too much of what is happening in the world. They're concerned about their finances. They're concerned about their own health. They're experiencing the loss and grief. The children, everybody is quarantined inside the home, and it's just hard to sleep. So so let me just tell people out there is that you can have these symptoms and not necessarily be disordered. We know that you're disordered when you're not functioning properly. And that is the thing that we want to make sure that people are able to function properly. You will be distressed. All right. There's no two ways about it. Unfortunately, that is how we live. But how we handle the distress, which is why I'm here today, so that we don't see you become disordered. I will say it again. I will say it even slower. You will be distressed. I cannot tell you that you will not be distressed, because I'll be lying to you. But you don't have to be disordered. And so that's what I want to hang my hat on today.
Woo! Look at you. You came here preaching today. I love that. I'm going to push you and take it a step further. Well, I'm not even going to take a step further. I'm going to seek clarification, because you're the psychiatrist, so you're the expert. So please feel free to correct me. You said don't stay distressed too long, right? Because then you're more likely to develop into a disorder. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So my question is, we all want to be distressed, and thank you for bringing that point home, Dr. Shepard. What can people do not to stay distressed for too long?
Yeah. So, and that's where we all differ. And so I will give some suggestions, but you have to know yourself. Number one, I just talked about, we're in the election season. And so there is a new term that I saw in, I believe it was the New York Times. And it was kind of funny, but it's really not funny because it's true. It's called election stress disorder, ESD. And what's happening is people are consumed by everything that is happening through the news. And so what you have to do is you got to cut it off. There's so many different people who are just consuming negativity, negative things. So you have to watch what you're eating, not just physically what you're taking in your mouth. And I will get to that, but you need to watch what you're consuming mentally, because it's going to affect you, and it's going to tell off on you, so to speak, just like the food would tell off on you physically when you haven't been eating right. So if you've been consuming negativity, if you've been consuming all these different things that are overwhelming you, it's going to cause you to remain in that chronic state of distress. And as you know, doctor, that when you are in a chronic state of distress, what happens? It breaks your body down. Mm-hmm. You know, it breaks when your immune system has been broken down. Many times it's because of stress-related issues. It continues to break you down. So we have to cut it off, cut the TV off. There are days and times where I'm in my home, the TV is not even on for the whole day. And you have to be okay with that. Be all right with that. So cut off negativity from people. If you know that there's people who are messy around you, they'll give you the lowdown on who's doing what and why this person ain't doing that, and cut it off. I cut people. I cut people off this year. So how do you cut off that path from distress to disorder? Is watch what you're consuming. And then I've already alluded to it. You have to watch what you're consuming naturally too. So make sure that you're eating better. Make sure that you're doing those things that will boost your immune system and your physical and mental health.
Ooh, that was excellent. I've got to do our disclaimer. Nothing on this program should be taken as medical advice, just medical information. This is just medical information. So, Dr. Shepard, you're a psychiatrist, and so you may get this question a lot. So, how about this? Let me put it on me first. So, I'm a ER doctor. I'm on the front lines of COVID, and people always ask me, "Well, how do you deal with the stress?" And so, I ask you now, what are ways that you deal with the stress? Because there are 5 things I tell people that these are things to do. What are some basic ways that you kind of deal with stress?
Absolutely. So things that I'm trying to think of exactly how I would phrase it. So let me just start one of the ways, which is what I do right now. And I'm kind of hesitating because it's kind of funny to me. I'm exercising now more than what I've ever have. And I know people are, what do you mean you exercise? I laugh because people look at me and say, well, you're skinny. You don't need to exercise. That is a lie. All right. So number one, I exercise. I exercise today. And let me tell you, me and my brother were talking recently. He was just talking how the fatigue of the pandemic has caused people to stop with their exercise regimens. And so we have to break through that fatigue. So number one, exercise. Make sure that you're getting those different endorphins, and I want to get into the technical term of what that does, but it just helps boost up the good feeling within inside of you. So you want to make sure that you're exercising, walking, some type of thing to get your exercise, to get your heart rate up. All right. So that's one of the things that I do. Number two, I'm careful of the conversations that I'm having. So I want to make sure that when I'm going into certain conversations or talking to certain people, I talked about it earlier, make sure that it's helpful. Number three, what I've been doing is sometimes I just go for a drive and just
a long time.
Yeah. Just clear my head. I did those things a couple of times during the month of September. It was great to do. It really was, just to get away. Wasn't trying to be around a lot of people, but do those things. I stay connected to my family. That is very, very important. This is not the time to isolate yourself. All right. I know that we're quarantined, but stay connected to your family. And so I stay connected to my family, whether it be through telephone, FaceTime, or whatever mode of communication that we use. And, those are just some of the simple things. The eating, I got to do better with that. I'll be honest with you, a transparent moment, so You know, so I love sweets. So
Oh, me too.
yeah. So I have to do better with the eating piece. But I tell you though, I am drinking more water. You know, I'm watching you know, some of the sugary beverages that I'm having, and so those are just some of the things that I've been doing to kind of keep myself relaxed. Also, for those, and this is actually very, very important. I don't want to neglect this. I'm keeping myself spiritually grounded. So I want to make sure that those who are out there, if you are Christians or whatever religion that you're associated with, this is not the time to forego the religious training that you've had. This is your time to tap back in. You need to do those principles that you've been taught and do them well. So I've been reading. I should also say that I've been reading more. I read the Bible more, but I'm also reading articles and I'm reading other things to educate my mind so I can know what I'm talking about and be insightful as to how I'm going to plan my day, because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
A whole lot.
So
let me say this, because I have a well-informed, well-educated audience. We're going to cross specialties. And here's what, everyone follow me, because Dr. Shepard, who's a psychiatrist, talked about exercise. There's a bit.ly attached to this because it's called the COVID Toolkit. But the reason why exercise is important, he talked about it from the mental health. If we cross over it into COVID health, exercise is usually done outside. By exercising outside, you increase your exposure to sunlight. Increasing your exposure to sunlight increases your vitamin D levels. The studies are unequivocal now. Appropriate levels of vitamin D makes you less likely to contract COVID. That's a new study. And if you get COVID, it makes you less likely to develop worse symptoms. So that's a great one for you to run. Exercise is key. And in fact, Dr. Shepard, I think you hacked me, because a lot of what you said are on my top 5 things that I was going to tell people about mental health. One of the things that I talk about is turn it off. Turn that TV off. Turn that TV off. Even if it's something positive, your mind needs a chance to rest. Yep. Is that just me, or is there anything to your mind needing a moment to rest?
Oh, absolutely. Your brain cannot reset unless it goes to sleep. So sleep is your recharge. So when you think about your phone, when your phone dies and you need to put it back on the charger, that's what happens when you are sleeping. And there's studies now out, Dr. Varner, that talk about.
Call me Joff, man. Come on. You call me Geoffrey. Come on, brother. I'm sorry. Yes, Dr. Shepard, please continue.
I'll just. This is how we go back and forth. I'm doing it for your audience, sir. That's
you always do it for them. They know me, brother. I got a good audience. They all right. Most of them know me.
Right. Yeah. So okay, I got you. Otherwise, I would call a black man, but you know. But
my man, black man, what's up?
But the thing is, when you go to sleep, it says that studies are saying now that it actually flushes out the toxins through the fluid in your brain, the different proteins that build up that can cause dementia. And so when you are asleep, this allows the brain to flush out those proteins so that you're actually decreasing your risk of dementia. So we have to remember that sleep is very important. We live in a world that, you know, they try to squeeze the most out of us as far as productivity. And we were just talking about that earlier before the show started, just about sleep patterns. And I was just sharing with him that I like to do some work in the middle of the night and then go back to bed. But, you know, honestly, that's not always the best thing. And sometimes you need to have those consecutive hours of sleep, unbroken sleep, to make sure that you're recharged. And then let me tell you this, make sure you get checked out. If you're snoring is not normal. You need to make sure you get checked out to make sure you don't have sleep apnea. So even though you might be sleeping, but if you have some type of breathing disorder while you're sleeping, it's not going to recharge you.
Okay. So far, everyone, just to summarize, and if somebody could put them in the chat, turn the TV off. turn the TV off as often as possible. In my own habit, I actually only listen to the news about an hour a day, and that's just so I can stay up to date about what's going on. Get plenty of rest, work out, and then the other thing. So tell me what this is. Recently in the ER, it was a bad COVID day. We had a few traumas. We had one trauma. It was a bad day, and it was time to like go. And I was leaving energized, just ready to go. And people were like, "Why are you so upbeat? You know, it was a rough night." And it's not because I was special. I said because I got to get home. I got to take my son to practice, and then I got to take my daughter to this and that. The point is, I had something to go and do. What is that? How do I want to characterize it? People always need to have something to look forward to, even if it's not fun. Just someplace to go, something to do.
Yeah, and people look at that for vacations. That's why it's important to schedule vacations. And I know that you may not be able to travel to certain destinations like we may have planned earlier before the pandemic struck, but knowing that you have a certain vacation or a special event or something that is set aside definitely boosts up your motivation to work towards that event. If you think about it, what was that? Pavlov, the dog experiment.
Yes.
Yeah, so about conditioning and things like that. So people are similar to that. We work towards a prize. We work towards something that we know that we can achieve. That's why we have salaries. That's why we get paid. There's many jobs that people would not do unless there was some type of benefit to doing it. So absolutely. So you want to figure out what those things are that will motivate you and do more of those things. Yep.
All right. Hey, Lisa, thank you for putting that in words for me. I'm gonna summarize it again because you and I talked about this when I did it for you when I was on your program. But so far, everyone, if someone could put it in the chat for me, turn off the TV, get plenty of rest, good rest, work out, associate and talk to positive people, not negative people, positive people, and purpose-driven activities. And then I found myself the talking to people is real, but I want to take it a step further. Have real conversation, meaning that how's your day? That's cool, but if I'm feeling a little down, shouldn't I have somebody I can call and say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit down today. Can you give me a pick me up? Well, I mean, what am I being unrealistic?
No, you have to have people in your life. And this is the best time to identify those persons actually who can speak to you when you are down. You need to have people in your life who can correct you when you're wrong and still be your friend. One of the things that I have taken charge of this year, really more so than ever before, is examining the people in my life and my space in other people's lives to see, are they really for me? And what I mean by for me is, and I'm not looking to be selfish, but do they have my best interests at heart? And what I mean by that is that you have a lot of people who gravitate towards you because they see something spectacular in you, which is wonderful, but that doesn't mean that they have your best interests at heart. And so this is a time when we really need to reset. I read that somewhere in one of the comments, is that this is the time to push the reset button in all of our organizations and all of the doings that we have. God has afforded us the time to reset. And when you reset, you don't necessarily go back to the same settings. There's always an option. Do you want to go back to the settings that were previously? And you can choose yes or no. And I'm choosing no. I'm learning from this pandemic. I'm going to reset my mind. There are certain things that I may have tolerated before that I will not tolerate again. There are certain things that I would be more flexible about that I was not flexible about. So, it's a give take, but we have to reset ourselves. And when we reset, we realign, we recalibrate. And I can see ourselves when we do that. And I thank you for saying that. We will get through this. And when you get through something, you can look back and say, wow, look at how far I've come. And so thank you for reminding us that we will get through this.
I love that theme, the reset. Now, only reason why I want to push it, because that's the theme we're going to leave the audience with. In the audience, we are going to take a few questions shortly. When you say reset, because I think that we should be like, hit the reset button. What practically does that mean? When you tell somebody, hey, hit the reset button, reset. What do you mean by that? And is that a daily reset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is a daily reset that we need to do.
Love that.
Absolutely. So there is an acronym that I prescribe, PCWC, which describes mental health. The mental health is the well-being of an individual who understands his or her own potential, that they're able to cope with the stresses of life, they're able to work productively and fruitfully, and then make a contribution to his or her community. That's PCWC. So each time that you wake up in the morning to reset, you need to gauge yourself according to that standard of PCWC. Do I recognize my own potential? Do I recognize my ability to cope with the stressors that are going on in my life? Do I recognize that I'm able to work, and not just work, but work productively and fruitfully? And do I recognize that I'm making a contribution to the community? That is how you reset. You have to have a gauge, a standard. And this standard is not one that I created. Actually, I took that definition from the World Health Organization, which we do need to listen to. But I just made it into my own acronym to set that standard of PCWC. So each morning I wake up, I have to make sure, am I meeting those 4 standards? And as you do that, you will reset. But you have to be real with yourself. Take inventory. And that is something that you have to be okay with. Look at what you're doing and say, I'm not happy. And if you're not happy about it, know that you can change it. All right. And again, I can't give a specific formula on how to do that because everybody's different. But these are just some of the things that know for yourself what the standards are. All right. And so as you measure yourself against these standards, you'll find yourself resetting and moving forward.
Hey, love that. Love that. And just so people can share this with their friends, and it's kind of long, so you may want to share this and say, hey, go to the 28-minute mark. Just to summarize it, we have Dr. Johnathan Shepard, who's teaching us strategies to reset. He's highlighted how we need to reset daily. What we've come away with that he's recognized is what's key is turning off the TV daily and regularly. In other words, don't watch too much TV. Get plenty of rest. Work out regularly, not just every so often. Have a workout routine. Have purposeful activities scheduled daily. As well as find people you can talk to. And by people, we don't mean negative people. And our theme for today is hitting the reset button. And I can tell you, if you don't mind me sharing, Dr. Shepard, my reset button is every morning I wake up, do this every morning. I think about 5 things that I'm appreciative for before I get out of bed. And I can tell you, I always, when I get up, I'm not thinking about yesterday. I just feel good. And it can be something as simple as, I'm so happy it's raining outside and it's the fall, because those are my best days to run. So just whatever makes you appreciative, I think that just makes you feel better. We're going to take a few questions here. Terrence Hayes talks about self-care. Andrew Pickney, what is going on? Linda Brown, what's happening? Andrew Pickney's on here. Great morning. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Nubia Frazier. Okay, here we go. Oh, Kibby summarized for me. Be mindful of the company that you keep. Cut negative people. Oh, they quoted you. Cut negative people. Get rid of them. Exercise. Be mindful of the conversation you're having. Go for a drive alone, meaning alone time. That's the one that I forgot. And stay connected to loved ones and stay spiritually grounded. Hey, Kibby, thank you very much. Great summary. Great summary. Excellent cover, impactful. Good. Hey, Dale, thank you for putting that in there. He put the PCWC in there. Potential, cope, work, productivity, contribution to the community. Great. Hey, we're about to get up out of here. Dr. Shepard, our psychiatrist, is going to make a few closing remarks. If anyone has questions, this is your time to go ahead and submit them. I would do it now because there is a turnaround time. Dr. Shepard, now that you've taken time to motivate us and join us and you've made us feel better, to let us know. So just real quick, it's reasonable for people to feel a little stressed and anxious during this period of time, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the strategies that you gave us help us with that.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I can give you a few more.
Oh, please do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's some more that I utilize. Relaxation breathing. When you find yourself in a stressful situation, relaxation breathing. It's hard to demonstrate necessarily in this type of platform, but you just close your eyes and you think of a solemn place, and you feel yourself inhaling and exhaling. And as you do that, it really helps to calm yourself. It reduces your heart rate. It slows your breathing down. And as you're doing that, you'll feel yourself physically getting calmer, which will then hopefully mentally feel you getting calmer, if that makes sense, mentally, emotionally. And then, use your shower time. I talk about this. I have come up with some wonderful ideas as I'm preparing to get dressed in the morning. But I say use your shower time because so many people have stopped their personal hygiene standards since the pandemic struck. I know that sounds nasty, but it's just true.
We're not here to judge. It's okay.
So yeah. So I'm letting folks know. People are. I just dressed up from the top up. Come on, man. Come on, my sister. You to get dressed all the way through. So if you stand up, you won't be embarrassed. And a lot of that just has to do with just taking care of ourselves. Make sure your children are dressed for school. Children shouldn't be going to school in their pajamas and things like that. I know that they're doing virtual learning, but again, that's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's a mindset of preparation. And so even when I see patients virtually, some might be in the bed and I tell them you need to get up out that bed and I'll see you once you get yourself dressed. Children too. You don't come on to the doctor with a wife beater on. No, we don't do that. You want to make sure you have yourself looking together, and that whole mindset will help to reset you. So, and then practice kindness. I know you talk about that a lot, sir. So, make sure that you're doing nice things to people, and then that will help.
Thank you very much for that. Hey, I just want to add in there again. Well, we have a great question. Don't know how I missed this. What are some ways to get out of a worry cycle that come out of nowhere? And many people experience that. So if you can think of what are some ways that, hey, people get in this cycle or they get into this hopeless thing, what are ways that people can get out of that?
Yeah. Anxiety is definitely one that follows that cycle or cyclic patterns. And it actually is passed down from parent to children, from adult to children. It's a bad cycle to get into. One of the ways in which you have to do, and this is not easy at all, is again, assess if the anxiety is causing you disorder. If the anxiety is causing you not to function properly, you're not able to go outside the house because you're afraid to leave the house because you think that something's going to happen to you once you leave out. Now, there's a difference from people being a little bit anxious and safeguarding themselves when they go out during the pandemic. I get that, but I'm talking to the point to where you don't want to be around nobody. And if anybody even creeps up on you, you just like hollers and that happens. I'm seeing it happen now. Even when you go to grocery stores, people Like if you even try to walk down the aisle in a different direction than them, they'll actually slow up and be like, I'll see. They go back and back out the other way. I've had that happen to me. So it's that type of anxiety that is really driving people right now. So number one, let's recognize if this is causing you a disorder, if it's causing you to be dysfunctional. And then that's when you need to ask for help. It's going to be hard to break this cycle without asking for help.
Oh,
and I know that is a difficult thing to do, even for the people that I talked about earlier at the beginning of the show that are seeking help for their 2 children who are potentially having psychotic disorders. I mentioned that I got those phone calls at the beginning of the show. And I said, look, let's just be real. We can have all the planning, but unless they want the help, it's going to be hard to get them the help that they need. And so hopefully shows like this will help people to say, hey, I need to get the help that I need.
Thank you very much. Everyone, we're going to ask, there's one more question we're going to ask, but I just want to highlight that we're in this for the long haul.
Yep.
We have a crisis and we're in it for the long haul. And so it's okay for us to feel sad every so often. But as Dr. Shepard commented earlier, we're going to feel some distress, but don't say you can't stay there. Don't stay distressed for like too long. And a good example would be my colleague, Lorna Breen, emergency medicine physician, who committed suicide as a result of taking care of COVID patients. What was a common, and she had no psychiatric history, but one thing that everything's pointing to was she was going home alone. Her family did not live with her, and she was not communicating with like people regularly. Our heart goes out to Dr. Breen because she was a wonderful person. But the point is, if you can break a cycle, I'm sure, I don't know Dr. Breen, but I'm sure she got caught in a cycle. And I believe, and I don't know, Dr. Shepard, you can correct me, but the right phone call from the right person at the right time would have broken that cycle. What's my point? Hey, we're in this together. We all have to help one another out. I'm gonna take this question, unless you want to comment on what I just said.
No, I agree with you.
So this is what, what do you recommend for people who suffer from SAD, especially since winter is about to be upon us?
Yeah, SAD is seasonal affective disorder.
Okay.
It is something that people suffer from. And it's real, and we see it more in the northern states where there's less sunshine. These are just things that we recognize happens. So seasonal affective disorder can be treated a few ways. Sometimes they will tell you to buy a light that will allow for you to be exposed to that light. And light, again, as you mentioned, that the vitamin D is beneficial for our immune systems, but it's also beneficial for how we feel.
Yes.
When you go out in the sunlight, think about it. You feel good. Even when it's hot. Even when it's cold outside, a nice bright day just kind of changes how you feel. That's very important. So you can get a light box or light box therapy. Some need to be on medication. I would say this though, for a lot of people who I treat with seasonal affective disorder, because I don't see a lot of it, truthfully, because most of them have it more than just in the wintertime. And I mean more, they're still depressed even when the summer rolls around. It just kind of hits a peak during the wintertime. Again, that's not everybody. Some people, they're okay. But again, from my practice, my point of view, I have very few people who suffer from SAD because most of them really have true major depressive disorder. And it's just that they recognize it or are more prone to talk about it during the wintertime. And so it is a real disorder. I'm not disqualifying it. But again, I'm just saying that you need to do your due diligence and check to make sure that you're not just dealing with seasonal affective disorder when you really could be major depressive disorder, which it doesn't matter what season you're in when that depression strikes.
I'd like to thank you. I'm gonna make a few comments, and then I'm gonna give you the closing comments. And I'm about to do a faux pas where I know you psychiatrist people hate when us emergency medicine people use this term, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. And is that, hey, everybody, you're not crazy. You're not crazy at the fact that you're feeling a little anxious and that you're feeling a little depressed at times. Give yourself a break. Be gentle with yourself. In fact, it's expected. But as Dr. Shepard pointed to, you just can't stay there. Give yourself a moment, but you got to move on because you don't want this to turn into a disorder. And for those of you who already have disorders, it's okay. This period of time may make it a little worse. I would encourage you to seek more visits with your professional. But you're not crazy, everybody. The anxiety you're feeling is real. We've given you 7, 8 items. Turn the TV off. Don't watch too much TV. I've experienced that in my own life. Get plenty of rest. It resets you. Work out. Have a regular workout habit. Talk to positive people. And when you're feeling down, call that friend you know who's always been there, who's not going to bring you a lot of negative stuff. Have purposeful activity. And every so often, and make sure you spend time alone. Spend time alone. And if you find yourself getting caught in a cycle, go do something nice for yourself. Maybe you don't allow yourself to have chocolate cake in the middle of the week. If you get in a cycle, go do something especially nice for yourself. Go buy yourself something nice. Get out of that cycle. Just don't stay there. But I said it once, I'm going to say it again. It's okay. You're not crazy. The anxiety you're feeling is real. It's expected. And it's going to be okay. Now, I know I went all over the psychiatry stuff and said some stuff I should have. I'm going to give you the closing comments, Dr. Shepard.
Oh, you good. So you asked the question, how to face the crisis in your life. GRR, grit, responsibility, and resiliency. Grit, courage, responsibility. You take ownership of what is going on in your life. And then resiliency, you will bounce back and you'll bounce back into shape. So that's how you face the crises in your life.
Oh, I love that. I love that. One thing I've learned is crises. Two things happen from a crisis. It leaves a lesson and it leaves a gift. You got to make sure you learn the lesson and receive your gift. Dr. Shepard, are you still taking on new patients at all?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you can find me at hopehealthsystems.com. We are in the DMV area, headquartered in Baltimore County, but we are a outpatient mental health facility that provides direct care in the state of Maryland, Delaware, and we even branch out to other areas and regions in the Mid-Atlantic. So you can reach me, hopehealthsystems.com, on number 410-265-8737.
Wait a minute, 410-265-8737.
265-8737.
And 37, and that's Dr. Shepard. I'm just putting it in the chat here. And this wasn't part of the plan. So don't anyone think that this was we were trying to garner business here. It's just that, hey, I had you on the phone, I had you here. I'm not sure how many people will come across a psychiatrist who looks like you. Take that for whatever you mean. That's right. You know what I meant. And that's so right. I know that you take everybody, but I would just encourage people that if they have a need for you, I've included your website in there. I've included your telephone in there. Hey, Dr. Shepard, once again, brother, Johnathan, brother, I appreciate you like joining me.
Yes, sir, Dr. Geoffrey. I am. This is excellent. I appreciate the relationship. This is continued. I can tell you how I went into this pandemic. I'm coming out totally different. I appreciate the new friendships, the network, and you are definitely on top of that list. And I thank God for just the opportunity to be here, truthfully. So, and thank you to all the listeners out there. Thank you for sharing this information. And let me tell you, you're going to see one of us hit the national stage because we got to see more Black doctors who represent us, especially as we're getting closer to a vaccine. We got to have people out there who look like us, who can tell our people that it's okay. And right now we're not seeing that. And so we're going to be pushing for that because we got to have good representation of Blacks in medicine who will let our people know that it will be okay.
Ooh, you just spoke a word. I'm not you on that. Where's my drop my mic? That is a people need. My audience has heard me talk about it. I don't want to be redundant, but at some point they're going to need Black doctors. In fact, Black doctors should just be on the national news anyways, regularly. But they're going to, when this vaccine comes, they're going to need people that they trust. You know, people of color is different from Black doctors, or it can be different from like Black doctors.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I was going to say something, but no. That's not a whole other discussion. But
no, go and say it.
No.
Okay,
I got to get on to work. But
right, well, hold on. We're going to do something different than what we normally do. I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you want to toss it back to me, go ahead. Can you pray us out?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. All right.
Lead us in prayer.
All right. So, God, we thank you for this day. This has been a wonderful day. The word says this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And we choose to rejoice. We choose to be glad in it. I thank you for every person who has listened to my friend, Dr. Geoffrey Varner, and for this show, Split Second Decisions. I thank you for the opportunity, for the platform. I ask that the material that was shared today penetrate somebody's heart, somebody's mind, bring about peace, bring about a settling in their spirit, in their mind. The person who is confused, who's frustrated, I speak peace to them even right now. I thank God for your spirit of peace and comfort, even for those who have lost loved ones. I thank you for the direction that will come out of this. I thank you because the word says that if we trust in you and lean not to our own understanding, then all thy ways acknowledge you, and you will direct our paths. And so we thank you, God, for the direction that you will give moving forward. This pandemic will not kill us, but it will make us better. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Again, thank you. And brother, you should know that you touched someone's life today. And so thank you. I thank you very much. And you be safe.
All right.
Everybody, so the next time you will hear from us, I have a new medication that we must all have in our medicine cabinets. We must all have. We've already talked about the vitamin D, but I'm going to present a new one to you. Look for the announcement, but I'm going to present a new one to you. And please share this with people who need to hear it. And if you could do them a favor, even when you share it, say, listen at this time and this time, because no one's going to listen to a 47-minute program, but share it, especially with people who you know need this. Be sure to like it. Give us a bunch of hearts. Dr. Shepard, we thank you very much. And whatever you do today, be safe, be kind to yourself, and be kind to someone else. Talk to you soon.